Now in this video lecture, we will go through the discovery of proton and neutron. Before this video lecture, we have already gone through the discovery of electron, right? And we have gone through the entire discharge tube experiment, right? Now in this video lecture, we will see into the discovery of proton, and then we'll see the discovery of neutron, right? Now we know that electrons are negatively charged, right? And we have already studied that atoms contains electrons, right? And we know that atom as a whole is neutral, right? Whereas the electrons that are in it are negatively charged, right? So atoms are neutral, right? And these atoms contain electrons that carry negative charge, right? Now in order for any atom to be neutral, right, it should have positive charge inside it, right, that can neutralize this negative charge due to electrons, right? So now scientists started looking for that positive charge that is inside the atom, wherever the location is, right, that could neutralize the negative charge due to these electrons, right? So atoms must contain positive charge that could neutralize the negative charge, right, due to electrons, right? So in order to prove this, what Goldstein discovered protons, right? What Goldstein did, he repeated the similar discharge tube experiment that was done by Crookes in the discovery of electron. What he did, he took similar discharge tube, right, which is connected to this side tube, and this side tube is further connected to the vacuum pump, right? And this discharge tube has a gas inside it at low pressure, right? And we have this anode, right? And here we have, this is perforated cathode. This is cathode, we call it perforated cathode, right? It has a hole in the center of it. In the center of this cathode, we have a hole inside, right? And this is the battery that is used to apply high voltage, right? And this is your battery, right? So when through this battery you pass a voltage of around 10,000 volt, right? On passing a voltage of 10,000 volt, what Goldstein observed that one more thing, there is a phosphor. There is a phosphor material which is coated behind this cathode here. This is your phosphor which is coated behind the cathode, right? So on passing 10,000 volt, right, through this discharge tube, what Goldstein observed, that this phosphor started glowing, right? Phosphor, we know, is a phosphorescent or fluorescent material that glows when any kind of rays fall on it, right? So on passing 10,000 volt, right, through this discharge tube, this phosphor started glowing, right? So what could be the reason for this phosphor to start glowing, right? What kind of rays are falling on this phosphor which is located behind this cathode that makes it glow, right? That was the question. Now we already know that this is cathode, this is anode, right? And we have a gas inside it, inside the discharge tube. So when electrons will hit these gaseous atoms, they will knock out electrons, right? They will knock out electrons from this gaseous atom, and these electrons, we know that now these electrons are negatively charged, right? So these electrons that are produced as a result of collision between electrons and the neutral gaseous atoms, these electrons will move towards anode, because anode we know is positively charged and these electrons are negatively charged, right? So these electrons will move towards anode, right, from cathode. From cathode, these electrons will move towards anode. That is why we call these as cathode rays, right? So now, since electrons, these are cathode rays, we know that beam of electrons are nothing but cathode rays, and cathode rays are traveling from cathode to anode in this direction, right? And this phosphor material is located behind the anode, right? So one thing is sure, that these cathode rays, right, that are traveling from cathode to anode will not cause this phosphor to glow, because these cathode rays cannot strike at this point, right, because they are traveling in this direction, so they will not strike phosphor which is behind the cathode, right? So what could be the what rays could it be that cause this phosphor to glow, right? Now we said this is a perforated cathode, right? That means on passing this 10,000 voltage of electric current, right, through this perforated tube, some kind of rays, right, are getting produced, right, that passes through this perforated cathode, through this hole, right, in the cathode, and these rays, right, in this direction this ray is moving, right, and cathode rays which are negative charge is moving in this direction, right? So on passing electric current, some kind of rays are produced in this discharge tube that moves through this hole in this cathode and strike this tube, right here where phosphor is coated, right? So it was thought that these rays, right, since they are moving towards cathode, right, so these rays must carry positive charge, right? So these rays that are moving, right, towards this cathode, and from this hole in the cathode, they are striking phosphor, right? They are striking phosphor and they cause this phosphor to glow, right? Now two things, since these rays are moving towards cathode, so they carry positive charge, right? Like here in case of cathode rays, since cathode rays are moving towards anode and anode is your positive charged electrode, so cathode rays must carry negatively charged particles, due to which they are moving towards positively charged electrode, because we know that opposite charges attract each other. Now in this case, since this phosphor is located behind this cathode, right, and we have a hole in this cathode, there must be the rays, right, that are striking this phosphor which is behind the cathode must be passing through this hole, right? If it's passing through this hole, that means these rays are getting attracted by the material of the cathode, right? And cathode we know is negatively charged electrode, so these rays must be positively charged, right? These rays must be positively charged, right, due to which they are moving towards negatively charged electrodes, right? So now one thing is sure, that the rays that strike phosphor carry positively charged particles, due to which they are attracted towards negatively charged electrode, which is your cathode, right? So So now due to this, when we got this confirmation that these rays contains positively charged particles, that means these the atoms, right? The atoms in this discharge tube are only producing these positively charged rays, right? That confirms that the atom, any atom, contains positively charged particles as well, right? That is in this experiment, right, moving towards cathode, right, and striking at this point, right, of the discharge tube where they make this phosphor material to glow, right? So these are positively charged particles, right? And these positively charged particles, these were discovered by Goldstein, right? Goldstein called these beam, right? He also called these beam of positively charged particles as canal rays. These are also called as canal rays because they are moving through, because they could move through the canals in the perforated cathode, right? And he called these as canal rays because these are produced by passage through canals or holes in the cathode, right? These holes are canals, right? So these are produced, or these, because they could move through these holes or canals in the cathode. So Goldstein also called these rays as canal rays, right? And the one thing, as I said, that this discharge tube has a gas, right? Has a gas at low pressure inside it. So we'll be looking now at the molecules of gas, but before that, we call these rays also as positive rays, as these rays travel from anode towards cathode, right? So we also call it as anode rays, right? So we have two more names for these rays. These are positive rays. Why positive rays? Because these contains positively charged particles due to which it's moving towards cathode, right? And these are also known as anode rays. Why anode rays? Because they are moving from anode towards cathode, right? Since they are moving from anode towards cathode, these are also known as anode rays. Like in previous experiment, in the discovery of cathode rays, the cathode rays were moving from cathode towards anode. So those were called as cathode rays. Now since here in this experiment, these rays are moving in the opposite direction, of cathode rays, that is from anode to cathode. So these are also called as anode rays, right? Now one thing, from where these cathode rays are getting, from where these anode rays are getting produced, right? This is something important, right? Origin of positive rays, right? Origin of positive rays. This is something important. You need to understand this. Origin of positive rays. In this discharge tube experiment, from where these positive rays are getting produced, right? Since I said that this discharge tube contains gaseous atoms, right? And when you apply electric current from the material of the cathode, electrons are getting ejected, right? Electrons are getting ejected at a high speed, right? When they are ejected at high speed, they collide with the gaseous atoms in the discharge tube, right? So when they collide with the gaseous atoms, right? Suppose this is an electron and this is your hydrogen atom, right? So when this electron, right, high speed electron will hit this atom, this hydrogen atom, right, it will remove electrons from this hydrogen atom, right? When it will remove electron, right, it will remove electron from this hydrogen atom, right? Electron is removed, and when electron will get removed, now this hydrogen atom, that gaseous atom, is now deficient of electrons, since these fast moving electrons has knocked out or removed electrons from this hydrogen atom, right? Now hydrogen atom is short of electrons, right? So it will form positively charged hydrogen ions, right? It is these positively charged hydrogen ions that form these positive rays, anode rays or canal rays, right? So these positive rays are produced between anode and cathode, right? And how these are produced? When these high speed electrons will knock out or remove electrons from the gaseous atom, right? And the atom, after removal of electrons from it, will become short of electrons and will form positively charged particles, which will move towards now cathode, and through these canals it will pass through these canals or holes and will hit this discharge tube behind the cathode, from where we have coated phosphor, and it will cause phosphor to glow, right? This is simple. Just be sure about this, that how these anode rays are produced from the neutral gaseous atoms, right? Origin of cathode rays, one thing, it is produced between anode and cathode when high speed electrons from cathode will remove electrons from neutral gaseous atoms, right? After removal of electrons, these gaseous atoms will acquire positive charge due to deficiency of electrons, right? So this is it. Now we'll look at we'll just look at more at these positive charges, right? We know that hydrogen is the lightest element, right? Hydrogen is the lightest element. So when hydrogen gas is taken in discharge tube, right, it was found that the positively charged particles that were produced are lightest, right, when hydrogen gas is taken in the discharge tube, right? So the lightest positive particles were observed when hydrogen gas was taken in the discharge tube. So this particle, hydrogen ions, right, which form the positive rays, are the lightest particles, right, compared to other particles. Suppose you take some other gas in this discharge tube, then the positive particles that would be heavier than hydrogen, right? So these positive particles that are produced in the discharge tube are lightest in case of hydrogen gas, right? And when other gases were taken in the discharge tube, the mass of this positive particle, right, in case of other gases, was found whole number multiple of the mass observed for hydrogen gas, right? This suggested that the positively charged particles of other gases are made up of hydrogen atoms, right, are made up of clusters of positively charged particles, right, made from hydrogen atoms, right? This is what it was supposed. What it means is, when hydrogen gas is taken in the discharge tube, right, it will form these positively charged particles, right? These positively charged particles were lightest. These are lightest particle when hydrogen was taken, right? Now when other gases were taken, in case of other gases, then hydrogen was taken, right, the mass of other gases was found whole number multiple of this particles due to hydrogen gas, right? So whole number multiple means the mass of other gases was taken, you get positively charged particles, right? And the mass of these positively charged particles, mass is equals to whole number multiple of, that means it is 1 times, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times the mass of these hydrogen ions, right? Mass of positively charged particles due to other gases is whole number multiple of the mass of hydrogen ions, right? So it was supposed that since if you take any other gas, right, like for example I take oxygen gas, and I found that the mass of positively charged particles that were formed in the discharge tube due to oxygen gas is say twice or 4 times or 5 times heavier than positively charged particles produced as a result of hydrogen gas, right? So it was thought that other gases, the positively charged particles due to other gases, contains clusters of these positively charged particles due to hydrogen ions, which we know that now we call these as protons, right? So this is lightest, right? This is lightest in case of discharge tube experiment, and other gases, positively charged particles due to other gases, is found to be whole number multiple of the mass of hydrogen ions, right? So now we will reach to one conclusion after this observation, that the positively charged particles named as proton, right, the positively charged particles obtained from hydrogen gas, right, since we said that any other gas, right, consists of clusters of these hydrogen ions, right, positively charged particles due to hydrogen gas. So the positively charged particle, this is the fundamental particle for the positively charged particles obtained from hydrogen seem to be fundamental particle, and this particle is named as proton, right? Proton is taken from the Greek word proteos, meaning of first importance, right? This name was suggested by Rutherford, right? So proton is considered to be the fundamental particle of all other gases, since it was said that other gases contains clusters, means many hydrogen ions, clusters of hydrogen ions. So this hydrogen ion is said to be the fundamental particle of any gas, right? Any gas contains these hydrogen ions, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, right? So just remember this is important concept, that the positively charged particles obtained from hydrogen gas, right, is seemed to be a fundamental particle, right, and this particle is called as proton. Now we know this concept, and this concept is important here, right? How are these produced, right? And hydrogen, the positive particles due to hydrogen gas was considered as the lightest, right, and other positively charged particles produced due to other gases, right, was considered to be clusters of hydrogen ions. Why clusters of hydrogen ions? Because their mass was whole number multiple of the mass of positively charged particles due to hydrogen ions, right? And now we have some properties of these protons. The properties of protons are, most of the properties of protons are similar to that of those of cathode rays. First is they travel in straight line, right? Similarly, these positive rays also travel in straight lines, and on whichever material they fall, they cause heating effect, right? And if I have these rays, right, and if I place a rotating paddle, right, in its path, then this rotating paddle will start moving, right? These positive rays will cause this paddle to move. That means these rays, these positively charged particles or these positive rays contains mass and weight, right? These are material particles, right? And there are some other properties like the rays, since these are positively charged particles, right, these are positively charged particles. So if suppose if I apply electric field here, right, if I apply electric field, then these positively charged particles will move towards negative plate of the electric field, right, because these are positively charged, so they will move towards the negative plate. So this proves that these anode rays contains positively charged particles. Similarly, if these are these rays, positive rays, are subjected to magnetic field, so they will move in a direction that proves that these rays contains positively charged particles. Now one more important thing is E upon M ratio. What is the E upon M ratio? Charge to mass. This represents, so charge to mass ratio of positively charged particles. Now since here we said, okay, in case of, if you remember, in case of electrons, the charge to mass ratio, right, charge to mass ratio was same for electrons from any source. You take electron from any source, the charge to mass ratio will remain same, because the mass of the electron taken from any source will remain same. Doesn't matter it comes from sodium atom, it comes from hydrogen atom, it comes from lithium atom, the mass of electron would be same from any of the source, right. The mass of electron will remain same, and its charge will also same. So E upon M for electron, E upon M for cathode rays will be same from any source, right, because mass of these negatively charged electrons will remain same taken from any source, and charge will remain same. Similarly, if now you talk about charge to mass ratio for these positively charged particles, what would be the charge to mass ratio for positively charged particles? It depends on the nature of the gas, we say here. It depends on the nature of the gas. How nature of the gas? After this discussion, it is clear that we said that the mass of other gases taken in the discharge tube, right, was found whole number multiple of mass of hydrogen ions, right. That means the mass of any other gas is different, right, from the mass of proton, right. The mass in case of gases is not same like in case of these electrons, right. Suppose I take sodium ion, right, we know that the mass of this sodium ion is different as compared to this hydrogen ion, right. So mass of positive rays is the mass of these ions, positively charged ions, that depend on the nature of the gas. Which gas you have taken, the mass of these positively charged particle depends on the gas, right. So E upon M ratio will depend on the nature of the gas, or it's right, in this case we call it as charge to mass ratio. Charge to mass ratio will depend on the nature of the gas, because the mass of positively charged particle produced would be different for different gases, right. Now what is the mass of, let's talk about this, what is the mass of proton, right, mass and charge of proton. We know that charge on proton is positively charged. Protons are positively charged particles, and what is the mass of it? Mass of proton would be, it's 1.672 into 10 to the power of minus 27 gram, right, and it is positively charged particle having same magnitude of charge as electrons. It has same magnitude of charge as electron, because in the beginning of this lecture I said that in atoms should contain some positively charged particles to neutralize this negative charge. So the positive charge that is there in the atom has equal and opposite charge as that of electrons. So its charge is plus 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 coulomb, right, and its mass is 1.672 into 10 to the power of minus 27. The mass of proton is 1.672 into 10 to the power of minus 27 kilogram and its charge is